Simon Davis with It's a Fencer's Life, Lessons from the Trenches.
So, I mean, when you're actually coaching, fencing businesses, I mean, is there anything you can kind of tell, like what you should expect? I mean, how you kind of handle the process, from the very beginning? I mean, kind of, I guess the initial steps, and then anything about the training in general too, like how you,
Yeah, look, with my coaching, I don't coach any physical type installations. It's fences one come in, ask me questions, and I can guide them to what I do or tell them done it for 30 odd years and on. But even now, I still learn new ways of doing it all the time. The intact that I talk to Sean King, the fence king, all the time, and Mr. Fence, I think he's good, and follow him with his no big, he's going to gain muscles in America at the moment, and it makes sense. We don't have that those products here yet in Australia, but I put my first vertical fencing in a residential area the other day, and had to sort of do it ad hoc, but it worked and it was good, and we finished the job in the day, and it was, rather than a 2-day job, we done it in the day. It made sense to get that way. And even doing no big, we do a lot of that out of the rural area, with thumping concrete posts or timber posts or star pickets or, steel line pickets. We do that anyway, but just bringing it over, getting that mentality into the residential market, and like, no, we can't do it because what coach, we're not going to do it. But so a big thing that's we've got to work on in Australia, that's something I'm passionate about anyway. And that's where the fencing industry is coming in to Australia at the moment, is having those. We now have a skills committee in the industry. We have a fencing and gate automation task force. So they're bringing Australian standards to some of the things that we do every day that doesn't get recognised, but can actually impact somebody's life pretty massively if things go wrong. And because there's no standards about it, they said anybody with a pair of pliers and a trailer and a ute and a pair of cell up and throw a gate in, runs on a motor. As soon as you put a motor on it, it becomes a machine. And if that machine breaks under a court of law where you're liable, and there's been children that over here that have been killed because gates have failed or things like that. There's no regulation around it. So our industry is really moving in a good direction. In short, to answer your question, the first thing I find when I talk to clients is they don't know where their numbers are. They don't know how to get their head around them. And I sort of work really hard on that. That's my first thing. The planning is my first. Like, what do you want to do? Where do you want to get out of your business? Like, where do you want to go? How long do you want to be in it for? Is it just because it's you can't sit around anymore and it's an easy fit, you can just go and start? How do you, what kind of fence are you good at building? What type of fence are you most profitable at? That changes. That can change with seasons. And that was a real wake-up call for me when I had a coach 10 years ago, and he asked me what my conversion rate was then, and I said, I'm running around the country, so I'm quoting, I'm winning all this work, and I thought it was about 80%. We worked the numbers out, it was 23%. And I was like, okay, so I'm running around the countryside for a lot of fuel, a lot of time, and I'm not winning jobs. What we got? Yeah. My conversion rate now is about 38%. But I do a lot of different type of work, and the work I do is very profitable. Yeah, so I've chosen one in each market, and that's a big thing. And because I know what the numbers do, I know what the target, and because I know what I can get and what I can't get. Even though what competition comes in and like they're like from their they're cheaper than me. So this is a big one. I hear all the time from my clients is that everybody's out there quoting the small ones quoting cheap, and I can't get around him and blah blah blah. And there's a real perception that cheap is good. It's not. It's probably the nastiest thing you can get. And whether you're driving posts or using timber posts or steel posts or whatever, if you're doing quality work, you got to charge for it. It's just the way it is. You got to know what cost to get your blokes out the deal.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, I was just going to say the same thing. It's going to affect everything in your business, including keeping your employees. Like if you're just doing bottom of the barrel pricing, that's not extra money to retain, your existing employees too. So, and
that's one of the big things, I think that's where I fell over before was, I had massive overdrafts, I was turning a massive amounts of money, but I didn't have my finger on the pulse of how much it was actually costing me to retain staff. And so because we were doing so much work and trying to get things in so quick, we end up chasing better to pay Paul, and there's no room for growth when you're doing that. It's you're just busting yourself all the time to earn as much money as you can to get at the end of the game. And then all of a sudden your processes fall off, your protocols fall off, your quality falls off, and you start doing callbacks, and then that's costing you money, and it just spirals out of control. So you really got to jump on it.
yeah,
To know what it costs.
yep. And especially with people being able to review your businesses, if you're just getting, scraping by and charging cheap and not getting the money you need to do their job the right way, all that's going to mean, if you mess it up or you kind of cut corners, I guess, then you're going to get bad reviews, which is going to lead to all kinds of other problems. And, you rarely get bad reviews. I don't really see many for like being expensive, or being the expensive one. I don't know if I really ever have seen that.
Yeah, I got one. I got one. I got one from a repeat customer. Actually, he gave me a four-star rating out of 5 because he thought it cost too much. And look, that's fine. I get a lot of reviews, and I don't really care if some of them are negative, because I think it's going to make sure that your business look a little bit more
Yeah.
balanced. You can't please everybody. I understand that. And I had some doozy clients as well. One of the things we get taught, I suppose, that me being a bit older as well, is that the customer was always right. And then I had a general manager used to come in and say, no, the employees are, you got to treat them right first, because they're the backbone of your business and everything else. And I sort of went down that route for a long time, and I don't think that's exactly true either. They are the future of your business, and without them on the ground, you can't grow. I totally get that. But you haven't have all over you either. So I think there's a real fine balance in between. Like, I'll go to that if I have a client that's a client from Pell, then I'll go to that for my employees all day, every day. But I'll also put them in line when they're out of line. I think that's one thing that we'd see a lot of, people, if they get upset or anything, they just throw the towel and walk away and, I've just been talking off and they go, well, this is a lot. But they don't understand that mentality. If every time something happened to me that I did go my way and I threw the towel in, I'd never get out of bed. Yeah, but you're just gonna, we're in a hard game, and as I said, everybody wants to ridicule you and everything else and tell you how bad you're doing or you're doing it wrong, and it's like it's like water off a duck's back, and you just keep going.
Yeah. And taking a step back too, I mean, because I think every business owner is, I mean, if you haven't had problem customers or, somebody that's getting on you about whatever, I mean, haven't been in business very long. So there's always going to be somebody that's, that has some kind of problem, I guess. And if you get very emotional and just like you said, just quit, I mean, it's probably unlikely it's definitely unlikely you're going to ever have a business, for one, but I mean, you're just constantly getting emotional about everything and not at least, thinking about listening to what they were saying first too, and kind of being like, is this actually something we were doing wrong? I would say in the very beginning, I would not do that as much, when I first started in the business, but now that's like the first go-to. Like I have to be like, all right, is this something that we should be fixing and, fixing for future clients? Or is it just like, what is the problem? Because usually there's some kind of point, unless the person's just a complete jerk and, really just, is wrong in every way, I guess. But I guess taking that step back has, helped me grow a lot and also fix and make the business better as well.
Yeah, I think in my early days, I was always hot-headed, and I'm a big bloke as well, 6'1", but I was pretty fit and solid, and I get cranky, and my staff used to reckon I'd go red in my face and cranky, and I had one bloke turn around and say to me, he said, so your way or the highway? And I said, well, mate, my way works. And until you can show me that it doesn't work, we're doing it my way. That's what it is. And now I have a lot of things with my staff, trainings, and that is that I'll teach them my way. And I expect you to do it my way until you can find a quicker and a better way to do it. If you can bring it to me, and then we'll adapt that way and then be very forward. So I listen to that a lot. But one of the things I found too is when my staff were a bit edgy or upset or something like that, and they could, lose it over the littlest things on site. They might just not go their way, or the ground was a bit too over, and a few rocks, and let it, crack it. I would normally hear about it, that especially because 90% of the time I'm with them, but now I'm stepping back more up into that CEO role as I'm growing again now. I've had to really let go a lot of the things. But one of the things I found with my employees is that when they're upset, there's normally something outside of work. It's normally not work related. So, it could be family issues at home with children or spouses or financials. All these little things add up, and the pressure gets all that basically cracking. If you're working with a bloke day in, day out for a few years, you see you spend more time with it than the partners do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see all the signs.
Yeah. And even with your customers, I mean, if they're going ballistic, or they're that mad, there's probably a really good chance it was something else as well that got them to the point that was just the tipping point. And I guess for better or worse, the business owner gets that a lot of times because they can't, they just kind of let it all out on you or whatever. But I do want to talk about that though, with the customer service and I guess customer loyalty and, really getting your business to a place where you're getting a lot of referrals. I mean, are there anything that you're teaching or you're doing with your business that has really like skyrocketed the customer loyalty that you have, creating or providing them an experience? Any little details that you're doing differently that you've noticed gets more referrals or makes the customer like that much more excited? Because there's things that I'm pretty obsessed with that with my business, like trying to find little things that kind of go a long way. And even just like, new clients, we will send gifts to them basically. So like right as soon as you start with us, we get something in the mail that has food for like the whole team and like snacks and all that kind of stuff. Notice that like definitely helps add kind of that wow factor. So I was just kind of curious with fencing. I mean, have you ever heard anything like that or implement anything like that really just helps you get more referrals and more repeat business?
Yeah, one of the things, and that's a really good question. I don't do gifts with my clients. I've never really thought about it like that. I have seen other companies outside the fencing industry do that, but with fencing now, for me, referrals is I have a referral link on all my invoices. I then have a follow-up call with my clients to see if they were happy, generally before I send the invoice, and then I'll put a link there with them as well. I don't get as much as I probably should push, but my thought process is, and I think this is the biggest issue is I charge a lot of money for the service that I provide, and some people straight out just come around and tell me they're on 2G or whatever. I charge for my quotes to residential fencing. I charge a fee to go out and do an on-site appraisal, and a lot of the old tradesmen who are retired I've never charged for a quote in my life, I'm not paid that rah. And I said, that's okay. You don't have to hire me to tell me how to do that. That's fine. I'm not the person to batch on. I'm off back a lot of work, just for that reason. For those referrals, when I do win a job, I bend over backwards to make sure that job is spot on. Yeah, that might mean I have a skeleton through there, and then I end up showing a little bit because I have to meet more people into it, or it may mean that we are meticulous in cleaning up. We are quite early with the client, so there's no no loud music or swearing and cussing or carrying on. As my blokes are in clean attire when they sort of turn up. So it's a whole presentation that we live to the party. That's if you're going to charge that you want a premium price, well you've got to get a premium quality, and there's no small cuts. It might mean that my blokes on site, I turn up with a after an esky full of cold drinks to the client sees that, the client sees that I'm taking care of my people, as well, so they can take care of you. You know, it's all the little things.
Yeah.
It's not one big thing. If I can say that.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. And yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard, fencing and decking businesses that kind of go to the job and they don't put on uniform and it's not, yeah, just look like a mess, I guess, pulling up in a truck and getting out. And you're not even sure who just showed up because there's no markings on the truck or there's no t-shirts they're wearing to let them know who it is. And it just kind of sets a bad example right from the starts.
Yeah, it can be really it can be really difficult in doing that, and it can become expensive, for a crew or a new fencing setup to buy trucks and all that sort of stuff to get your blokes up to speed. My advice is just to start with a plan and you sort of work yourself out. You can't afford uniforms for your blokes. Just make sure you're in uniform, and then you might be able to buy magnets for their truck or whatever, so you can just start to, like, as you build your business, you build that protocol. You just put a little bit of money aside for the marketing and the uniforms and the systems that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you mentioned marketing. Do you typically, I mean, I've seen your website, but what do you typically do or what do you suggest, to coaching clients, like marketing wise? I mean, do you have any kind of, I guess, line of what you typically recommend first and, anything they do as they scale, next steps and things like that?
Yeah, I think, to me, typically, I think you have to have a social media presence. So you've got to either have a Facebook business page or at least a Google My Business page. I find, to me, in my business, I very rarely respond to marketplace ads as somebody's looking for a fencer in, this area, blah, 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 because I find that everybody swamps on that and then you're actually fishing at the bottom of the barrel for that job anyway. So they're not my type of client. But I have a Facebook business page that I just put stuff on there. Probably don't do it enough. But I spend all of my time in my group, my Facebook group for the fences. So it's Facebook fencing page on Northwest Fencing, and I just basically add others to it. A review goes out every now and then. It goes out with our Ishing Boys as well. I've had a link on, I know I have a Google link and a Facebook link, so they've got a choice. I find my clients generally will have already done their research by Google, and generally that way and gone through all of my reviews. They track all that everything up further ringing. So half the time, like, if you're proactive doing reviews for your business that way and building that client base up there, they're 90% sold before you before they pick up the phone.
That piece is huge, the reviews, because it's the best way you can become, so you're not a commodity, basically. You can actually separate yourself. If you have more reviews, better reviews, and these other people have better website too, you're going to be standing out versus these other guys. And they're going to, like you said, 90%, they more or less want you to be the company they choose because you just blow everyone else away. And then if you add that presentation factor where the guy that comes out for the estimate or however you do it, looks good and it's professional and, wearing a uniform of some sort, you're going to have a way easier time selling those more expensive fences versus a smaller guy. But if you're doing nothing different than them and you're still charging more, like, it's going to be an uphill battle.
I think your branding is a really big important factor too. And one of the things I say a lot of is, for example, if you brand your company as a name, like if I'm going to Simon Davis Fencing, that stays with me forever. You can't sell that off. You can't do that out. I strategically call my business North Coast Fencing because I want the North Coast of the New South Wales state here I am on the eastern border. But it doesn't matter where I go up and down that east coast. If I set up in Sydney and still call myself North Coast Fencing, I would get all the work just north of me. So I could always move. So it was a really strategic plan for me to have a name that was not directly in one area, but it was linked to a name. yes, I'm the face of the business and people want to see me, but I have a website, my North Fast Fencing website, I haven't touched in 8 years. And I haven't done a thing to it. And, I don't do any SEO or anything else. Well, I'm still ranked #1 in my area, but I'll get phone calls from 400 mile away, you know, and they, this North Fast Fencing, I'm here, I'm just north of Sydney, or, or I go up the other way and up to Brisbane, so the in Queensland, and it's, oh, you're North Fast Fencing, can you do this? And I don't travel that far, but it's just that perception of that name that I'm on the North Coast, and you can have, that's a geographical position that I put myself in, and the name has done that for me. Whereas I see a lot of people, they just call themselves, or their last name, Davis Fencing or whatever, and it's really hard to shift.
Is North Coast, is that like a typical search term too? Like just an example here. I mean, I live in Maryland in the States, and Southern Maryland, people say that a lot. It's just like a common way of talking, or, pointing out a general area. I mean, is North Coast like something that people search it often, or is it just?
Now, what I find, people will generally go fencing Maryland, or fencing Lismore, or they'll type in that the word fencing and then the area, that area,
City, yeah,
Denton City, suburbs, whatever, and that will come up. So if you can then sort of market yourself out by get those areas for that SEO sort of down pat, then all the suburbs around it, you can sort of rank pretty high in that one area. And one of the big things that I work on with my clients is frequency and recency. If you're frequently talking to your clients and to your prospects, they tend to remember you. So your councils, your public works, maybe your government contracts, you can go down that commercial route. But then recent as well. So it's not just reaching out to people once and they're forgetting that, it's you constantly reaching out to them and recent. If you're the last person they talk to, they're going to remember you, so to speak, if they're looking for a guesser. If you've done a quote for a client and then you dropped it and then nothing else has happened, they may have had 10 other quotes gone through that system. But if you're the first quote, and they've had 10 others, but you've rang them every couple of days, or every 4 or 5 them up with emails or a newsletter or something like that, you're frequent and you're recent. And you go, oh, this bloke's professional, well, this company's professional, they're all over there. The others aren't doing this, so I think we need to do it. And price doesn't really come into it a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point. And to kind of expand on that, you can do a lot of that with marketing too. I mean, so you already probably know, and I know a lot of people hate it, but retargeting is a very real thing. And somebody reaches out to your website or they find your social media page, you can follow them around too. Possibly, show yourself. And that's really what it takes, what research says, I guess. Somebody has to see your business many times and have a lot of touch points. I think it can be 7, and now it's like double or more, as everyone sees ads constantly on social media. But if you're running different types of ads, if you're on Google, it's just more touch points. If you're doing emails, if you're calling like you're talking about, that's how you're gonna separate people. Because otherwise everyone just forgets you. They're just gonna. And if you have 10 other quotes, or even 5 other quotes, or 3 other quotes, and one person is doing a lot better than you in a lot of ways, then they're going to remember them a lot more easily than you. So.
Yeah, one of the big things I find with governments, if it's over a certain amount of money for a job, they have to get 2 quotes, or sometimes 3 quotes. But with the residential, and if you don't qualify your client, and this happens all the time, people will ring up, and if you're jumping on the phone, every time the phone rings, jump out, I'm going to race down to this quote, you're just burning your energy for no reason. But if you qualify that client first, A, to see if they're in your niche, B, to see, like what competence they want to do, and what area they're in, C, ask them what budget they've got, and if they turn around and say, oh, look, we just need 3 posts or we get 4 quotes or whatever. First thing I do is I go, I'm not the person, I'm not the company. And why? Because I'm not going to be the cheapest. If you're price shopping, it's not me, but I don't work with you. You know, same thing with charging for quotes. If you're not going to pay, $100 for a quote for me to jump in my car, spend an hour to drive out, and then come back and put it all up on a computer and then run it through professionally, you're not going to spend 10 grand, And a lady that did me the other day and said, "Oh, well, you must be losing so much work." I said, "Well, on the contrary, I'm walking out for 6 or 7 months. Not losing any work. I just take my work,
Yeah.
Yeah, I just get better jobs.
Yeah.
And, I can work less for more.
Yeah.
It's, why go out and, win 30 jobs and, make nickel and dime stuff out of it when you can go out and win 10 jobs and make thousands out of it?
Yeah. Yeah. And you kind of touched on a point there. I was curious. One of the biggest problems I do hear employees, it's problem hiring. And I don't know why I'm blanking on the second one that you said, but that one I remember hearing a lot. And another one that's probably number one that I hear the most, or the biggest problem that I see, like when I talk with fencing or decking, is the speed to leads. A lot of people will wait, an hour or multiple hours or a day to reach back out to somebody. And that just, they do studies on that. It just cripples, your conversion rates and the amount of leads you get or amount of leads you get. So do you hear stuff like that as well? I mean, has that ever been a problem in your business? You speak it.
It is a massive problem in our business. What I find here in my particular area, and one of the things that I win a lot of work is because I respond to every email or every phone call that comes my way. I may not be able to do the job, but I still qualify them, or I pass them on to other fences that I know it's in their sort of alley. But I find quite regular that a client will ring me and say, "Look, I've been looking for a fencer for 18 months. I can't get anybody. Nobody will return my call." You're the first one that reached back out to me or answered your call. You got the door. I said, "Well, I haven't given you a price. It doesn't matter if you come to it. Use the code." So and then you would have sort of slow down and go, "Right, well, do you have a budget? Do you know what you're sort of looking at?" And you sort of, right, I'll come out with the quote, we'll do this, we'll do the estimate, and you can then basically know you've won the job. You just sort of, I'm going to go out and do a job and then hand them a bill and go, they fall backwards, So you've got to prep it first and pre-warn them where they're at. But speed to lead is massive. First, my immediate area, we've got a big influx of works. We got smashed with the drought first was terrible. It was a 10-year drought. I think I had probably 3 days of rain that I missed work in that 10 years. Wow. Then we had the fires come through, and they went right through the whole east coast. So that decimated our timber supply. And then we had what's come first? Then we had the COVID come through. So that punched all the raw steel and supplies through the roof. Everything doubled, tripled overnight across the board. People fighting in the streets of toilet paper and things like that. That was ridiculous. And then the year after sort of COVID finished, we had the biggest flood we've ever had up and down the east coast, and the biggest one we've ever had in Lismore. And it decimated farms everywhere, buildings, and it was like like a war zone. And as is here when the floods went through, probably much to your tornado alley, it was like that. We had cyclones and went off the coast that had never come down this far, and ripped houses to pieces and things like that as well. But with the floods and the rain, it's been really really hard. So there's been such a big influx of work after that. New buildings going up, fences going up, and all of that stuff. That was 2 years ago. We still haven't recovered fully in our area from those floods. The shops in Lismore, there was probably 1 out of 4 returned to open up. And now they're back up, just getting up to about the 3 mark and nearly back to full capacity, not quite. But we've had the last 6 or 7 weeks, we've had rain every day again. So that I live on a hill, a mountain top. So we drive back down into the valley, into town, and you can just see water everywhere. We're not talking about massive amounts of rain, but we're talking about rain that's constant enough to everywhere you walk is mud. I've never seen my hill here, in the 7 years I've been here, water rain out of the top of the hill like it is, and just so soggy where you stand. Even when we had the big floods, it wasn't this far up here on the hills. Out around is saturated. I drove around with my leading hand yesterday to take him to all of his different jobs and say, right, this is your job list. There's about 10 jobs here. We couldn't get on any of them. That was the only way. You just couldn't even get a truck anywhere near the place. I have a four-wheel drive. Beautiful drive out there and got bogged in that. It was just so wet. So that slows the workload down, and you're trying to find things that happen. But it's if you're doing residential things, you have to sort of get into those. But I find they're not necessarily my niche market anymore. For me, I sort of push into more the small acreage fences and do a lot of barn fencing, a lot of tree rail fencing and things like that. So when they're ringing me all the time saying gates are an new gate entrance or whatever, I've just employed or just about to employ a stonemason. They can do a lot of rock walls. As I said, value-adding to my business.
Yeah.
Bringing people in that I can't do rock walls. I can't lay bricks. That's not my forte. Yeah, these blokes can, but I can offer it in my business. So I can upsell.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I know we got through about all the questions I had. I mean, is there any additional nuggets of wisdom or insights, anything you'd like to share?
I suppose that the big thing that comes to mind is you've got a plan. You've got a plan for you got a plan for the worst and hope for the best, I suppose. But that's one thing that I used to think a lot of. But if you don't plan, generally the worst will happen. You know what I mean? What's the saying is fail to plan, plan to fail. So
A failed telling a plan is planning to fail, right?
yeah, or is it the other way around? Yeah, something like that. Well, it's basically if you planned and you have foresight, you can then hindsight's a marvelous thing. But if you can have foresight to see where things are going, if you can follow your numbers and really dig into those and find out where your low spots are, or your low ones, it might be your low circulation of your financials. It'll come in ebbs and flows. So if you can follow when you're quiet, ramp up beforehand. I know you guys have a massive snow season and frost season, so we don't have that here. So that doesn't affect us. If in those times people are doing out doing other things, or they shut their fencing business down or whatever. So here in Australia, we fence 24/7. We both have a down the time. I can see on my charts when my what quieter months are. I can earn massive months in July and August, and I don't know what busy times, but that's when it heats up for us here in Australia. We go from August to December is our Christmas time is our busiest time. Everybody wants to have a fence done. The whole rainbow comes in it. And so you're flat out doing all those things, trying to go through. But you might spend a lot of money in one peak, and then you've got a late period before you actually get the money in. So if you can sort of spread those times out and balance it a little bit, or know when they're coming, just be aware. People plan around it.
Yeah, no, that's great insight. I mean, that was pretty much all the questions I have for you, Simon. This went really well, and I think everything you shared was really amazing and valuable to everyone that's listening as well. But I just want to thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing those experiences and giving us a lot of insight into kind of your journey, but also what you're seeing, because you obviously are seeing a lot of different issues, whether it's somebody you're coaching or your Facebook group or your family and friends, all kinds of stuff. You're pretty involved in the fencing world. So, I think everyone got a lot of value from this episode. So thank you for coming on the podcast. I do appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yep. And
it's one of the big things, but I think globally fencing is the same. With big holes, put posts in the ground and just it depends on what you're doing between them, but it's the same worldwide. It's one industry that we can say it's the same. And, business is business. You've got to be smart about it and you've got to be logical about it. Too many times we become emotional about it because we're dealing with our own money. So, but maybe it is something that I am really passionate about. And thanks, Alex, for letting me on the show and let me share my story. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fun, and glad we can work it out with these crazy time difference because it's getting a little bit later here, but it's things just getting started there. But for everyone listening, going forward with this podcast, we're going to be continuing to do the weekly podcast. I'm working on getting a bunch of new guests, great guests like Simon. And actually, before I continue, Simon, is that going through the website the best place to get in touch with you, or Facebook page? What are you thinking?
Yeah, they come through the you can find me in a couple of ways. You can listen to the one podcast. It's A Fencer's Life, Lessons from the Trenches. It's on Spotify and Google. You can join the Fence Post Facebook group. So that's at Fence Posts. And also you can find me on the profitable www.theprofitablefencer.com.
Perfect. So plenty of options there. And going forward, that's if you guys are liking these episodes, you're enjoying the content that we're doing, if it's providing value, the guests that are coming on are providing value, you could leave a review and subscribe to the podcast to be a big help to the show as we try to, rank higher and all that fun stuff on all the different podcast platforms. If anyone does have any questions about their business with marketing, specifically, welcome to reach out to us as well. Speak with someone from our team and me personally at deckfencemarketers.com. That's our website. And we are just constantly providing free content for fencing and decking companies. So if you're looking for more free stuff, you can check out our webinars we do every month. And then social media, we get post every day, different videos that'll just different information to help you. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. Be sure to check that out if it interests you. But if not, no worries. And thanks for listening. And Simon, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Seth. Good night, Alex.
Yep. Take care.